Welcome back. You're watching Dukascopy TV for another market update with Ron William. Today we are going to take a look at the pound. So Ron, welcome.
Hi, pleasure to be back.
So now the first graph we're going to take a look at looks at the trends we have witnessed with the pound. Now today was quite interesting. We actually saw the pound drop to a 6-week low. But if you look at this graph, it was very high, crash happened, fell to record lows. It is starting to make its way upwards. But with this recent trend, the 6-week low, do you see this pressure continuing, or will it go back up?
Well, it's a key juncture at the moment, so it's difficult to tell either way. My bias is further pressure because this is such a significant historical resistance zone that we're in. And if we just look at the chart, it's a 6-year price zone on the trade-weighted index of pounds. So this is a broad measure of the pound against the basket of currencies. And what it basically shows, as you just alluded to at the onset, that we have now, for some years now, we have retraced and held at roughly 1/3 of the move from the global financial crisis. So after the crash, we've regained that strength. And then that's been more specifically during 2013. The key issue now is that we're up into this key zone between 83 and 81, and there's likely to be further turbulence, further downside pressure, in my opinion.
Great, and let's take a look at the second graph. Tell us what we're seeing.
Well, the second graph is almost a mirror of the first one, mainly because the US dollar has a great weighting in that chart that we just looked at. And so we see similar patterns. And what we see here is another key resistance zone, but this time it's a much wider long-term historical zone, 18 years. Just shows that the market does have a long-term memory. And we're again up at these key resistance levels. This 18-year price zone on sterling versus the US dollar cable is at 170, 167, and we not so long ago actually ticked just above 117. We're back to kind of multi-week lows, as you just said there, also against cable. So on this, it's a similar reflection to what we saw on the first chart, which is a broad measure of the pound, and here against the dollar, we're seeing a similar but even stronger resistance. The other thing here is I would say that the US dollar in isolation has also had a very strong reversal, a positive recovery, positive performance in the US dollar. So I think there's a dual story here when we look at sterling versus the dollar. We have the pound generally under pressure, but we also have the US dollar gaining some momentum on the upside.
Now, Ron, let's take a look at how the pound is actually performing against other currencies.
Well, this is a great new chart that tells that story in terms of performance of a basket of currencies against one benchmark like the pound. It's a quadrant of a market cycle of performance, and we have, if you just follow the arrows clockwise, we have here on the top right hand corner leading performers, weakening performers, lagging, and then improving. And what we see here, and in the center, of course, that's the pound benchmark. What we do see is that the improving performers, the ones that are about to gain further upside momentum against the pound, is the resource FX rates, or the high yielding FX currencies, such as the Russian ruble, Canada, and South Africa. Yeah, South African rand, all against the pound. So these are all gaining momentum, they're all improving. But leading right here, right now, to circle back to your question, is the Brazilian real and the New Zealand dollar. The New Zealand dollar is actually the strongest, but it's starting to unwind according to this chart from high levels.
And that is what the next chart is all about.
Yes, exactly. Moving on to the next chart, we see here that New Zealand versus the British pound, kiwi pound, has clearly been a top performer for some time now, since Y2K, since the beginning of the last decade. It's gained an amazing 40%. Which is roughly 4% per annum. So clearly it's been a top performer by most measures in investors' portfolios. And we can see here that the trend has been very strong, but then of course all trends that move in a straight line do have to kind of unwind from those overbought conditions, and we are at the moment for some years now been moving a little bit in this volatile sideways distribution pattern. So this is some of the pressure which I'm seeing from the top side, which suggests that we might get some unwinding in the short term. The key level that I'm looking at the moment, and I would recommend your viewers to look at, is the psychological level at 0.50, and that has just been a very important kind of fair value level, psychological level for a few years now. If we break below that, and I think we may, then the next target would be 47.20, which is a Fibonacci retracement zone of the move of this big trend here. Having said all of that, if we do get a move to 47.20, this would be a healthy correction. So I think this currency would hold at that level, but certainly a currency to look at the moment.
Great, thank you very much, Ron.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching Dukascopy TV. Do stay tuned as we have plenty more interviews and updates just like this heading your way very soon. Goodbye for now.